Today we're going to take a look at my P6000, which is underneath this wall hanging. You could use anything to cover it with, but I think it's a really good idea if you have a P6000 or any type of printer to make sure to cover it up with something when you're not using it. This way, dust in the air, or if you have pets, because I have 2 cats who like to get up on top of my printer and sleep. That way the cat hair doesn't get inside of here. So I want to share my thoughts on the P6000 after using it for about 5 years. First off, I love this printer. Aside from the fact that it's so big because it takes up a lot of room in my studio. If you notice, like, I'm crammed back here. I have my easel in front of me. I don't have much room to work in my studio. I've made the master bedroom of my house into my studio, my print shop, my web design area, all of the things that I need to do to manage my business as a full-time artist. And so I got this printer because I wanted to print large. It prints 24 inches wide, and that's why I love it. So I can make gallery wrapped canvas prints up to 18 by 24 inches using this printer. I can also print anything from 24 inches wide to however long I want. You can see it working through this clear front area. But what you do when you are loading paper, it goes in right here. You can load anything from like a 17-inch roll all the way up to a 24-inch roll. If you close this, you can also use cut sheets in here as well. And you just program it in here as to whether you want to use the roll or cut sheets. Now, I would like to say about the cut sheets, they are not the easiest to load. For me, every time I try to load a cut sheet in here, I'm messing with it forever, sitting it in there, trying to get it just right. And sometimes it doesn't print on there exactly centered up everywhere. So I don't know, if you're trying to do cut sheets, I would say this printer is probably not the best for it. It's better to get a smaller printer. Like, let's say you're trying to do 8.5 by 11 prints. You don't want to use a P6000 for that. But I have other smaller Epson printers like a P800 and a P900. I've made a video review of the P900. You can check a link to that in the description if you'd like to learn about a smaller printer. But so I have those smaller printers to use for my smaller prints. I really reserve this printer for only my big prints. And the reason why I'm kind of telling you all of that is that this is what ran me into a problem a couple of years ago with this printer, is that I just wasn't using it enough. I mean, if you're only printing 24-inch wide prints on it, every once in a while, I might be using it 2 or 3 times a month. Sometimes I wouldn't even use it for an entire month. This is really bad for this printer, as it turns out. You need to use this thing at least once a week. It's better to use it every couple of days. And if you're not going to use the printer that often, you probably shouldn't get one. And here's why. So I wasn't using it enough, and then all of a sudden I was getting like banding and all this bad looking stuff in my prints. I did a whole lot of cleanings on it and wasted so much ink, like probably $100 worth of ink, because I was doing deep cleaning after deep cleaning, and it was just awful. So what I ended up having to do was call an Epson support person out here to actually rebuild the print head on this machine, and it cost me $950. And the guy, when he was out here, he explained to me how it was imperative that I use this thing a couple of times a week. But he did say that if I wasn't going to be making a lot of prints on it, it wasn't really necessary. I could just do a test print on it once or twice a week, just turn it on, use the sheet feeder. I didn't have to load the roll of paper or anything. I didn't have to do a whole bunch of prints, but I did need to do something. So just keep that in mind if you are planning on purchasing a P6000. You need to use it often. But I think overall this has been a really good purchase for my business because I am able to sell prints myself that are large. On my website, I can do custom orders for customers without having to send it off and get it printed. This allows me to have a really fast turnaround time. You can see how vibrant the colors are, and it makes such crisp details everywhere. This is a digital painting I made. And also I'm able to hand sign the prints because let's say I was using print on demand or some other company to make the larger prints for me, and then they were shipping them directly to the customer. I couldn't sign them if I were doing that. I'd have to get them to ship them to me and then pay more of the shipping cost to send them out to the customer. And I like to hand sign all of my prints. It is a special thing that I can do for my customers, and it gives me a selling point and an edge above all the other people who are selling like on Etsy or eBay say they're just using print on demand because they cannot hand sign their prints, because they don't ever see the prints before they are mailed to the customer. And when I can, I love to be able to see what I am sending out to a customer prior to shipping it to them. Now, in some cases, I can't do this. T-shirts, for instance, I sell those and I don't make those myself. I have a print on demand company, Printful. Link in the description if you want to learn more about Printful. But I have them ship out my t-shirts for me, so I don't get to actually see the shirts before they arrive to the customer. But in most cases, if I can, and if it's within my capability, I like to send the artwork myself to the customer, because then I know what they are getting. And I can have confidence in that what I am selling to them is the best quality that it possibly can be. So that's another one of my selling points, is I like to have archival, fine art quality prints. And the P6000 does this. It has pigment-based ink, so it's completely archival. It is expensive though, and since you do have to use it a lot, if you're not going to be making a large number of prints, I would think twice before purchasing one, just because you don't want to get into the situation that I did where you have to replace a print head, because that is even more expense. Well, if you found this video helpful, check out this other video where I go over some of the very best printers on the market currently for making fine art prints. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.